Welcome everyone. Welcome to NS Institute. Today we will learn regarding the paint. That is, it is under the topic surface coating. So this will be the first part of paint, and we will complete this topic by part wise. So पहले जान लेते हैं पेंट का हिस्ट्री के बारे में. सो मोस्टली ये जो कलर और पेंट है ये ऑलमोस्ट 20,000 ईयर्स पुराना है. So, so one of the earliest recorded color discoveries was made by scientist Plato, who discovered that by mixing two colors a third is produced. जैसे अभी हम लोगों को पता है कि दो डिफरेंट कलर मिक्स करने के बाद एक नया कलर आ जाता है. So mostly that was discovered by scientist Plato, that by mixing two colors a third is produced, therefore changing the manufacture of color forever. And 5,000 years ago, the first synthetic pigment was produced by the Egyptians, and that the color was blue frit. That is the pronunciation will be blue frit, and the spelling is normal BLUE blue and frit FRIT. And before the 19th century, the word paint, whichever we are using now, was only applied to oil bound types, and these bound with glue were called distemper. So before this 19th century, this word paint was some kind of this applied to oil bound types. Okay, so now coming to the point that we should know the definition of paint. तो अभी हम लोग पेंट क्यों यूज करते हैं? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हम लोगों के पास कोई मटेरियल हो जिसको प्रोटेक्शन दिया हो, जिसका लॉन्जिविटी बढ़ाना हो, या फिर कोई मटेरियल हो जिसको डेकोरेटिव करना हो, तो उसी के लिए मोस्टली हम लोग पेंट यूज करते हैं. हम लोग ब्रॉड पर्सपेक्टिव में अभी नहीं जा रहे हैं. नॉर्मली एज नॉर्मल व्यू पॉइंट, किसी चीज को प्रोटेक्शन देना हो या उसको डेकोरेटिव बनाना हो, तो इसीलिए हम लोग पेंट यूज करते हैं. So mostly what should be the perfect definition of paint? Paint is defined as a surface coating material in liquid or solid form which when sprayed on a surface adheres मतलब क्या है, जैसे ग्लू के तरह चिपक जाता है, and hardens forming a film that protects, decorates or add a specific feature to the surface on which it is deposited. So some material and an example of protection, जैसे हम लोग बोल रहे हैं कोई मटेरियल का प्रोटेक्शन है, सो एन एग्जांपल ऑफ प्रोटेक्शन कैन बी गिवन लाइक टू रिटार्ड द करोशन ऑफ मेटल. कोई भी मेटलिक पार्ट हो, जैसे आयरन के ऊपर हम लोग एक पेंट लगाते हैं, क्यों? क्योंकि उसका कोरोशन रोकने के लिए. एंड एन एग्जांपल ऑफ डेकोरेशन कैन बी, जैसे हम लोग होम इंटीरियर करते हैं, होम इंटीरियर डेकोरेशन करते हैं, या फिर घर के बाहर में पेंट करते हैं उसको प्रोटेक्शन के लिए, उसका डेकोरेशन के लिए. सो दैट कैन बी एन एग्जांपल ऑफ डेकोरेशन इज टू ऐड फेस्टिव ट्रिम टू अ रूम्स इंटीरियर. जैसे घर के अंदर में हम लोग डेकोरेशन के लिए पेंटिंग करते हैं. एन एग्जांपल ऑफ एडेड फंक्शनलिटी इज टू मॉडिफाई लाइट रिफ्लेक्शन or heat retardation of a surface, which we will cover later in this chapter. Also, the use of color to identify hazards or to identify the function of equipment and pipelines. जैसे बहुत सारा इंडस्ट्री में डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ सिग्नल के लिए पेंट यूज किया जाता है, या फिर रास्ते में आप देखिएगा जो रोड क्रॉसिंग वाला जगह होता है उसमें भी वाइट पेंट इसीलिए यूज किया जाता है. तो डिफरेंट जगह पे पेंट यूज कर सकते हैं हम लोग एज पर द हैजर्ड्स और टू आइडेंटिफाई द हैजर्ड्स और टू आइडेंटिफाई द फंक्शन ऑफ इक्विपमेंट. जैसे कोई कोई इक्विपमेंट का डिफरेंट फंक्शनलिटी के लिए डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ पेंट हम लोग यूज करते हैं. एंड पाइपलाइंस में भी वही है. So these are the examples of paint to identify hazards or to identify the function of equipments and pipelines. Okay. So now we will try to cover the requisites of a good paint. That what kind of behavior should show by a good paint. It should possess high covering power, and it should form a quite tough, uniform, adherent and impervious film. Uniform means that अगर एक मटेरियल हो जिसके ऊपर आप पेंट लगा रहे हो, तो each and every corner and each and every place the film should be like same. कहीं पे कोई मतलब ज़्यादा पेंट हो रहा है या फिर कहीं पे कुछ कम पेंट हो रहा है, कहीं पे कुछ कलर इंटेंसिटी ज़्यादा है, कहीं पे कुछ कलर इंटेंसिटी कम है, ऐसा ना हो, जैसे यूनिफ़ॉर्म हो, हर जगह पे इसका सेम दिखना चाहिए। तो यही पेंट का एक्चुअली एक गुड पेंट का बिहेवियर है। देन इट शुड नॉट गेट क्रैक व्हेन ड्राइंग, जैसे हम लोग पेंट लगा दिए उस टाइम पे वो लिक्विड फॉर्म में है, अगर वो फॉर एग्जांपल ड्राई हो रहा है उस टाइम पे कोई क्रैकिंग नहीं आना चाहिए। देन इट शुड प्रोटेक्ट द पेंटेड सरफेस फ्रॉम करोशन, तो पेंट इसीलिए तो हम लोग लगाते हैं कि उसको प्रोटेक्ट करना है, तो जो करोशन होगा उसको रोकना है, तो एनवायरमेंटल जो इम्पैक्ट होगा उससे वो मटेरियल को बचाना है। इट्स फिल्म शुड बी ग्लॉसी, जैसे हम लोग डेकोरेशन के लिए पेंट करते हैं तो वो ग्लॉसी फिनिश होना चाहिए। अगर वो काइंड ऑफ ऐसा फिनिश हो रहा है जो दिखने में लुकिंग वाइज ग्लॉसी नहीं हो रहा है तो वो डेकोरेटिव नहीं बनेगा। इट्स फिल्म शुड बी स्टेबल, इट शुड बी वेदर रेजिस्टेंस, ऐसा ना हो कि कहीं पे कभी पेंट किए और उसके बाद कुछ महीने के बाद बारिश आ गया वो पेंट ही निकल गया, तो वो पेंट करने का फायदा क्या है, बिकॉज वी आर पेंटिंग जस्ट टू प्रोटेक्ट दैट इक्विपमेंट और प्रोटेक्ट दैट मटेरियल और प्रोटेक्ट दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग विच एवर वी नीड टू प्रोटेक्ट, और you can say that for the decoration purpose also, so it should be weather resistant, ऐसा ना हो कि different weather और या फिर weather condition के basis पे वो पेंट खराब हो जाए या फिर मटेरियल खराब हो जाए। इट शुड बी केमिकली इनर्ट एंड नॉन टॉक्सिक, बिकॉज ये केमिकली अगर इनर्ट नहीं होगा तो किसी के साथ रिएक्शन कर सकता है, तो वो हमें नहीं चाहिए। इट शुड बी केमिकली इनर्ट एंड नॉन टॉक्सिक, क्यों, बिकॉज जो पेंटर है वो जब पेंटिंग करेगा अगर ये पेंट टॉक्सिक होगा तो उसके लिए वो हेल्थ इशू आ जाएगा। सो इट शुड बी नॉन टॉक्सिक एज द पेंटर शुड बी प्रोटेक्टेड, राइट, जो पेंटर है वो भी यहाँ पे उसका हेल्थ कंडीशन को देखते हुए इसको नॉन टॉक्सिक ही होना चाहिए। नाउ so now we will गो थ्रू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट्स ऑफ ए पेंट। एक पेंट के अंदर क्या क्या कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट होता है, जैसे पिगमेंट होता है, जो कलर हो गया, लेकिन ओनली कलर होने से भी नहीं है, उसको ड्राइंग करवाना है, उसको जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल उसको स्मूथली एक जगह से एक जगह के खींचने के लिए उसमें सॉल्वेंट चाहिए। तो डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट शुड बी प्रेजेंट इन अ पेंट। So what are those components? First one is the pigments. We will briefly discuss each of these component constituents later. But first, I want to mention the different constituents of a paint. What are the major constituents of a paint? So first one is the pigment. Second one is a vehicle or drying oil or binder. Vehicle means जिसके ऊपर बेस करके तुम pigment को mix कर रहे हो. So second one will be the vehicle or drying oil or binder. थर्ड वन विल बी द थिनर, बिकॉज पिगमेंट जब हम लोग यूज कर रहे हैं उसमें थिनर चाहिए कि पिगमेंट को थिन बनाने के लिए, पतला बनाने के लिए। फोर्थ वन विल बी द ड्रायर्स, क्योंकि पेंटिंग के बाद उसको ड्राइंग करना है, जितना जल्दी ड्राई होगा उतना अच्छा वो फिल्म बनेगा, तो ड्रायर उसमें चाहिए। Then it will be fifth one will be the extenders or fillers, then sixth one will be plasticizers, and last one, that is the seventh one, will be anti-skinning agents. Each of these constituents we will discuss briefly later, but first I want to mention all these seven constituents. These are the major and most important constituents of a paint. Those are pigments, the vehicle or drying oil or binder, thinner, dryers, extenders or fillers, plasticizers, and anti-skinning agents. These are the total seven major or most important constituents of a paint. Now we will discuss one by one. So first one will be the pigment. So what are the pigments? Pigments are actually granular solids incorporated in the paint to contribute color. मतलब क्या है कि pigment ऐसे समझ सकते हो कि पेंट में क्या है, एक्चुअली कलर ही है, तो पिगमेंट मतलब कलर है। जैसे कोई ब्लू पेंट करवाना है तो जो पिगमेंट रहेगा वो ब्लू कलर होगा, जैसे ब्लैक पेंट करना है तो जो पिगमेंट है वो ब्लैक कलर का है, तो पिगमेंट मतलब वो पर्टिकुलर कलर है। ये जनरली क्या होता है, पाउडर फॉर्म में होगा। So mostly what should be the definition of pigments? Pigments are finely divided, colored or white insoluble particles having a high refractive index that is greater than 1.7. Pigments, when uniformly dispersed in resin, that is, a pigment should be dispersed in a particular medium, that is resin, impart color and opacity to cured film. So basically, it is the color. Okay, that is a powdered in powdered form, but it is actually the color constituent of the paint. that is paint, एक पेंट में डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट है जो फर्स्ट वाला हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं पिगमेंट, वो एक्चुअली क्या दे रहा है, कलर दे रहा है, पर्टिकुलर कलर। जैसे ब्लू कलर चाहिए तो ब्लू पिगमेंट लेंगे, जैसे ग्रीन कलर चाहिए ग्रीन पिगमेंट लेंगे, ब्लैक चाहिए तो ब्लैक पिगमेंट लेंगे। ये है पर्टिकुलर वो कलर, जो कलर हम लोग को चाहिए पर्टिकुलर वो पिगमेंट हम लोग यूज करेंगे। सो नाउ वी विल गो थ्रू डिफरेंट शेड्स ऑफ पिगमेंट। जैसे हम लोग पेंट करते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल ब्लू, मतलब ब्लू तो ऐसा नहीं है कि एक टाइप ऑफ ब्लू है, या फिर ब्लैक कर रहे हैं उसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि एक ही टाइप ऑफ ब्लैक है। जैसे ग्रीन कर रहे हैं, वो उसमें क्या होता है, लाइट ग्रीन होता है, डीप ग्रीन होता है, बॉटल ग्रीन होता है, डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ शेड्स कैन बी प्रेजेंट। सो फॉर एग्जांपल ब्लैक, for example black color, there can be different shades like lamp black, carbon black, etc. There can be different kind of blue shades like indigo, prussian blue, etc. There can be different green shades like paris green, chrome green, etc. There can be different red shades like indian red, red lead, etc. We are giving some kind of examples. It is not like that only two of these shades of pigment will be there. There are several shades of pigments. We are just giving two or three examples of each color. Now there can be different shades of yellow pigment also, like chrome yellow, zinc chrome. There can be different shades of white pigment also, like white lead, zinc oxide, etc. Okay, so now we will go through the characteristics of a good pigment. So what kind of characteristics a good pigment should have? That is, first one should be, it should be opaque, cheap, and non-toxic in nature. As I already mentioned that it should be non-toxic. Why? Because if you consider the health of the painter, that is whoever is painting that particular paint, he's he considering that his health, the paint should not be toxic in nature, right? And for example there will be different kind of paints, but those whichever will be cheaper will be comparatively more preferable to us, because everyone is trying to have some kind of looking into this cost efficiency, right? So everyone is looking for this cheap paint. So it's not like that every time this will be this should be mostly cheap, but comparatively it should be cheaper, right? So it should be opaque, cheap, and non-toxic in nature. That is the first characteristics of a good paint. Next one is, it should be chemically inert. It shouldn't react with the material. It shouldn't react with any kind of things over which you are painting. Like for example, if you are painting a iron material, it shouldn't react with that iron, right? If it will react, then the characteristics will not be maintained. So for the good characteristics, it should be chemically inert. It shouldn't react with any kind of material. Now it should be freely mixable with film forming constituents, that is oil. So these are the important characteristics of a good paint. So now we will go through the functions of pigments. So what are the important functions of pigments? To provide desired color, opacity, or strength to paints, and the surface, to make its surface attractive by providing a unique color, then to make paint hard and sensitive. Next one will be the to protect the film by reflecting the destructive UV rays, to provide surface protection and decoration, as we already have mentioned it. Now we'll go through the next one, that is the next important constituent of paint, that is vehicle or drying oil or binder. So mostly what is actually the binder? The binder, or you can say that resin, is actual film forming component of paint. It is the only component that must be present in paint. It is the most important component. It should be present, or it must be present in the paint. So this is the binder. So the definition should be, these are liquid substances which hold the different ingredients of a paint in liquid suspension. As the name suggests, that is a binder. So binder means binding different constituents. So these are the liquid substances which hold the different ingredients of a paint in liquid suspension, that is binding each and every constituent. The carrier or vehicle makes it possible to spread the paint evenly on the surface, because the paint should be uniform, right? So therefore these carrier or vehicle makes it possible to spread the paint evenly on the surface so that it looks like uniform. And the vehicle generally in use are linseed oil, tug oil, poppy oil, and nut oil. Mostly these are used. Okay, so now this is the third one, that is a solvents or thinner. So what is the solvents or thinner? The main purpose of the solvent is to adjust the viscosity of the paint, because the viscosity of the paint will be comparatively more. If it will be very viscous, then you cannot you cannot make the paint with brush, because you have to make it thinner to run the brush from one end to another end, right? So the main purpose of the solvent, or you can say the thinner, is to adjust the viscosity of the paint, and it is volatile and doesn't become part of the paint film. Why it should be volatile? Because after forming the film, it should evaporate, so that the only the paint constituents will cover the entire material. And it can also control flow and application properties and affect the stability of the paint while in liquid state. Its main function is as a carrier for the non-volatile components, because it will be volatile, it will be evaporated, but the non-volatile components of the paint will cover the entire material, right? So what should be the complete definition? That solvents are added to the paint to make it thin so that it can be easily applied on the surface. And because if the viscosity will be more, you cannot apply the on the surface easily, so it should be thinner in nature. These are essentially volatile compounds. Why? Because it should be evaporated, and other components of, or other important components of the paint should cover the entire material. And so it should be volatile, and that must evaporate from the film after application. Solvents also affect such properties as flow, leveling, drying time, gloss, etc. The thinning agent commonly used is the spirit of turpentine. So these are the mostly this thinning agent commonly used is the spirit of turpentine. And in additional, I want to mention one point that I have already mentioned, is that this is the most commonly used thinner, that is the spirit of turpentine. But it doesn't mean that for every type of paint you will use this you will use this same thinning agent. So based on the types of paint, the thinner will be different, right? So now we will go through that list of thinner. That is for oil paints, the thinner are mostly used like spirit of turpentine, naphtha, benzene. For spirit liquids, we are using alcohol as thinner. For cellulose paints, this thinner can be ethyl amyl acetate, and for distempers, the thinner can be water. So it is that depending on the types of paint, the thinner will be different. Okay, so these are the list of thinners. So now we will go through the dryers. This is the fourth constituent, or fourth important constituent of paint. So mostly, what are the dryers? Dryers mean that after you are applying this paint over a particular surface, there should be some kind of drying agent which will enhance the drying process. So dryers are added to paint to quicken the drying of oil film by oxidation, polymerization, and condensation. And some dryers are like these litharge, this lead acetate, or you can say this manganese dioxide, zinc sulfate, etc. There can be different other dryers also, but we have mentioned a few examples of dryers. Okay, so now we will go through the fifth constituent, that is the extenders, or you can say the fillers. So what are the fillers? Fillers are actually granular solids incorporated to impart toughness, or you can say texture, give the paint special properties, or to reduce the cost of a paint. Okay, so the particular definition of fillers can be these are inert materials having low refractive index and are usually of white color. They are added to improve the properties and reduce the manufacturing cost of paints. Most commonly used fillers can be like barytes, that is barium sulfate. Whiting, for whiting it can be calcium carbonate, that is a calcium sulfate, like gypsum, like gypsum. ground silica, mica, talc. Talc means that the powder, then asbestos, magnesium silicate, slate powder, etc. So now the what should be the important functions of extenders? They reduce the manufacturing cost of paints. They increase the durability of paint. They act as carriers for colors, and they reduce the cracking of drying paint. So now we will go through the sixth point or sixth constituent of paint, that is a plasticizers. As the name suggests, plasticizers means that it should enhance the characteristics of a plasticizing. Plasticizing means that the that to make it like a plastic material. So what are the characteristics of plastic material? That is the elongation, right? So basically the definition is plasticizers are chemically added to paint to increase the flexibility, elongation, workability, and to prevent cracking of film. So this is the uses of plasticizers, and the most important most commonly used plasticizers can be esters like phthalates and then additives, etc. Okay, so these are the most commonly used plasticizers, that is phthalates, additives, etc. So we will go through the last one, that is the anti-skinning agents. So what are the anti-skinning agents? These are chemicals added to the paints to prevent skinning and peeling off a paint film. Important anti-skinning agents can be tertiary amyl alcohol, polyhydroxyphenols, etc. So for example, if paint is stored in a small jar, or you can say that yeah, in a small container, then as the paint on the lid starts to warm up, water will leave the surface and condense on the surface of the bulk paint. As the paint on the lid loses moisture, it will start to dry, forming a film, like right, and the film of the dry paint on the lid is referred to as skinning. And just to prevent that skinning, we use these anti-skinning agents. Okay, so these are the overall purpose to use the anti-skinning agents. And the most important sorry, the important anti-skinning agents whichever we are using, I have already mentioned, like tertiary amyl alcohol, polyhydroxyphenols, etc. Okay, so we have come to the almost to the end of this first part of paint. So lastly or finally, I want to mention some kind of additives whichever we are also using in the paint. So what should be the additives? So additives are usually added in small amounts to provide a significant effect on the product. So what are the uses of these additives? Why we are using or why the additives are being used? Different kind of additives. So to modify the surface tension, or you can say to improve the flow properties of that particular paint, or to improve the finished appearance, to improve the pigment stability, and again for control foaming. Okay, these are the overall purposes to add the additives. And other types of additives include like catalyst. There can be thickeners wherever it will be required. They can be stabilizers, they can be emulsifiers, or addition promoters. Okay, so these are the different kind of additives we can use in the paint. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, please share this as much as possible and subscribe our channel. And if you have any doubt regarding this class, you can directly contact us by writing in the comment section. And uh, the study material link will be given in this description box. Once again, thank you for watching this video. See you in the next class. Bye bye.